So if you control how much food there is or its availability through things like the weather, or using the weather as a strategic tool militarily, you can dramatically influence what's going on in the country. And by doing that over and over again, sequentially through a region, it's possible that you can change the political spectrum over an entire region by doing this over and over again. Maybe even do it over a much wider region, create so much instability that you're able to come in and say, oh, we have these wonderful fast-growing crops and genetically modified, and this you'll have something to eat in less than 3 weeks. And I imagine that if you control the food supply, that you can then consolidate the financial and the political interests in the country.
Could predicting the weather enable a group or specific entity to profit from that knowledge of knowing what type of weather or weather pattern will be? Absolutely. That's what all commodities are driven by. They're driven by predicting the weather, how the weather will be in a certain location, and that directly is correlated to the price of that commodity. Absolutely. There's no doubt.
Geoengineering programs are a direct assault on the most elemental aspects of nature.
What we're doing when we modify the weather is we're changing the world's climate and we're changing the microclimates. And we are doing it.
There are things we can say for certain. There's a mountain of metal raining down on us. We're certainly breathing that metal.
We have documented from the computer modeling some unintended consequences.
If such a contamination is present, shouldn't we investigate? Shouldn't local agencies investigate, which they have patently refused to do?
There's no question that large-scale climate engineering is untested and dangerous. I would disagree quite strongly that it doesn't exist. I think that the capacity to do it in engineering terms most certainly exists, and that's part of the reason we have to think seriously about how we manage that.
We are breathing a mountain of metal, and that can't be denied.
If geoengineering continues and the weather manipulation continues and genetic modification continues overtaking, we're going to lose our ability to grow good, nutritious food. We are going to lose our ability to thrive.
I personally consider this ongoing toxic dumping into our atmosphere to be, along with nuclear radiation, the most dangerous threats to our health and to our environment.
We've seen UV scales go off the charts, which are a known consequence of geoengineering, ozone destruction. We've seen rainfall patterns disrupted in ways that meteorologists don't seem to be able to explain or predict.
Challenge that all of these weathermen face, all of them, whether they're aware of it or not, sooner or later they will be aware of it. And I went through a period after the epiphany of, how did I not see this? How? I mean, seriously, I'm supposed to do this for a living. How did I not see this?
We seem to have lost our moral fiber and our ethical compass when we talk about that we all should live within an experiment that somebody else is conducting.
If you knew or could predict the weather at any given time in any given area, then you control the fate of mankind and what they pay for everything.
Well, Washington is not responsive to the average person. It's responsive to commercial interests who can spend millions on campaigns now without restriction, who literally drive the policy making in Washington, D.C.
I guess I'm under the belief that you can't control the weather. I hope someday we could control the weather.
Power becomes an addictive thing.
We're taking what the Creator has created, usurping His authority, and bringing it under the authority of corporations.
I'm worried that one person or one group would try to have that much leverage over the whole planet.
I don't believe that anybody has the right to play God, especially when they're putting particles and chemicals into the atmosphere, which there's unintended and consequences that are known.
We don't know it all. We cannot assume the role of the Creator in that.
Understand that of all things, of all the freedoms that we are losing, geoengineering is the number one issue that we are facing. Because you can have guns and money, and you can have everything. If you don't have food and water, and you are dying of respiratory and neurological illnesses, what does it matter? So you've heard about vaccines, and you'll hear, about smart meters, and you'll hear about other issues like fracking. These are all systemic effects. We are getting overexposed to toxins. People will tell you fluoride's in the water, but it's not a lot. It is a lot because you're getting it everywhere in your food. Water that you drink, everything is washed with that water. And you're getting your vaccines. All this, it's a coupled systemic effect.
And they are, in fact, just all these people are embedded. I wrote about this back in 2003 with my initial white paper on the subject of chemtrails and the product demise of natural Earth. And that is exactly what is taking place. The die-off of the essential microbes, it's something that virtually nobody has any thought about. Changing the soil pH, well, the geoengineering side of this and the bad coin down, the bad side of the coin actually facing you in this case is they're geoengineering various types of fungal forms that in fact will virtually replace things like endomycorrhizia, and nothing can live in them in that type of medium, but they're in fact designed to live in a higher pH. These fungal forms will in fact exude mycotoxins that are toxic to every living thing. As a matter of fact, they might even end up eating you. I kid you not. But that's the type of Frankenstein hell that is in fact emerging from what is going on, starting with the things that Dane talked about, going into absolute extinction.
Well, we have the white bat syndrome. We have the syndrome now in the Northeast with the bats getting this white mouse syndrome that's wiping out bats. And people should realize when you get rid of bats, you get rid of a balance in the ecosystem, which is a very bad sign. You may not like how bats are not pretty, but they get rid of hundreds of insects per night. And when you throw this out of balance, you literally have the groundswell ready to have plagues of fungi, parasites, and the emergence of other pathogens that you never thought could happen. They could destroy trees, crops, and people.
Absolutely. And the amphibian die-off is just one sector of the mutation of various types of animals and foliage and fauna into this genetically mutated base of whatever is going to be coming out of this. Because everything changes, even when humans ingest something that contains something that's been genetically altered in some way, any type of form whatsoever, it does the same likewise damage to your own intestines. You, in fact, will mutate your own bacterial form that's in your own body to the point where you're not certain why you can't digest food. You eat a lot, but there's no nutrition. You can't think anymore. And we got the systemic poisoning of the entire human population with fluorosis, which is various types of fluorides. I heard you earlier speak of that. The halogens, if you will, and including mercury, antimony. All these things are designed to as a slow systemic poisoning. But as you know, Dr. Bill, right in the middle of the brain is the central cortex, and there's something that takes place called fluoride plaquing.